Going forward, I used to hear about the Matrix, I'm not a movie person. I like the theater, but not necessarily movies, just because I'm not necessarily in one place, I don't sit down for a long time. So if I'm traveling, obviously you're forced to sit down, 6-7 hours ADHD. On the plane, yes. So I'm caged in, so I watch stuff when I'm traveling. So I watched The Matrix for the first time. I really watched it. I thought, wow, it's really true. Who hasn't watched The Matrix? Okay, well, it's important to try and watch it. It's amazing, So that's really good. So, but that's how we're living now. We're in the Matrix. Yeah. It's a life of make-believe, but it's real. They've made us. We are the Matrix. It's illusion. It's magic. You watch The Magician. I just watched the other one the other day. He just coughed out a toad, a frog. From, I don't know how that works out, but he did. Okay. So that's that. But I'm saying that we must watch The Matrix. The other thing about, when they say art, is it the art copies life? What is it that they say about art and life? Life imitates art, and this is serious. You have to watch their films to know what they are thinking. Don't take their films at face value. How many of us have watched Avatar? When I saw it, I was like, I had to watch it about 2 or 3 times, and I'm watching, and I watch them studying. I study them, I watch them intently, and I watch it one time, and I watch it again because I would have missed something. And you have to take this thing seriously. Avatar tells you how they operate. First, they identify the resource. Then they come and ask nicely. Okay? As they're asking nicely, they're bringing in the troops. They have the scientists, they have the missionaries, then they have the army. You choose which step, whether it will be A, B, C, C, D, A, or B, D, A. But they'll ask nicely first. And when I watched that, I thought, oh my God. But you see now, they're so bold and strong, and they have the impunity to show you the things on film. Okay? While black people are still doing films about love, kiss, kiss. Mother-in-law is a witch. Somebody did some juju for me. Those are the kind of films. Those are the films we are still doing. These people are doing films about Matrix and Avatar and space. Oh God! I wish I could have a transfusion. What's his name? Michael Jackson and I, we had the same agenda, If I had money to change, honestly, I'll run away from all of you. I just get so fed up. Oh God! So on one trip you're watching Avatar. On the other trip, you're waiting for the wicked mother-in-law. I said, what kind of life is this? Do we live on the same planet? Anyway, let's leave that. Questions, I discuss with my comrades, and keeps me awake at night. I wake up in the morning, it's worrying my mind. Because in struggle, there's so much to do and there's so much work to do. So then the question I've asked myself, what is the one thing, if I could focus on one thing, what is it that I can focus on? Because it's very overwhelming, especially when you go back home. When you go back home and from there you look at the West here, it's like we're joking. Even the hard work that we're doing now is just like a child. You see, like child play. Yes, child play. It's just like that child, her whole life is just her mother's breast. That's her whole life now. That's where her life revolves around. That's what we're doing. That's where we still are. I'm saying we are faced with such things of tremendous, volume that you can't even. Especially when on the continent, how terrible things are. And it's this same imperialism that has stretched its arm that far. Here, we're inside the belly of the beast. So it has its front yard, so it has its belly, but on the continent we're in the backyard of the beast, where the poo-poo comes out. And if we had any sense, we would align with ourselves, so we're able to attack the beast in its belly or its throat, or even stab it so bad in the backside that it affects it. It gives a mortal wound. This is how we need to be thinking, how we need to be planning. But instead, those who are in the belly of the beast, are very comfortable.
That's right.
So, when it's eating and, the other things that don't get digested, those of you in the belly, you eat that bit. And we're very happy, to have that bit. Of course, you know that by the time the food comes down to the end where we are, at the back, it's nasty. So that's why we, who are in the backyard of the bum of the beast, we aspire to come into the belly of the beast, where we can get some of the remains from the guts. Instead of thinking of how to locate the underbelly of the beast and kill it.
That's right. Word.
So I'm saying all these things to say, and I don't just talk for talking's sake. Everybody must try to say, where am I in the picture of African liberation? This is the question every individual must ask themselves. What is my role? Where am I located in this picture? For example, what is my mission in this struggle for African liberation? Because each and every one of us, we have a mission. We have a reason for being. We have work to do. Each and every one of us. Don't think anybody has more skills or is better, is more articulate, or is cleverer than the other. It's not true. The skills you have could even be 10 times more advanced than what somebody like me has. Never underestimate the strength and the power within. And the other thing about power, sometimes when we talk about power, we conceptualize power as something, for example, that is located in 10 Clowning Street. Or, at the, Cream House in Washington, D.C. We think that power is external. But, I'm coming to understand that power is actually internal. You must gain power over yourself first. Power over yourself. So when we start little things, like returning their names to them. Returning their hair to them. Returning their clothes to them. Returning their food. Lots of things. Beginning to return their things to them. And as you return their own to them, you pick up your own.
That's right.
That's exercising power over yourself. First, before we begin to organize for it amongst ourselves. Because if we don't do that, just at the moment when we're about to strike, somebody will say, no, this nice man looks like Jesus, I can't attack him. I'm serious. Oh, this one resembles the other ones from the East. And they're my brothers. It's so important. Self. You must conquer self. And with the question of power comes the question of discipline. If you don't have self-discipline, you have nothing. Discipline, power. So I was saying that, I asked myself, what is the one thing I can concentrate on? Because it's overwhelming. And I realized something, that because the vast majority of us are still fast asleep, if you could even concentrate on the question of waking up our people globally, on the question of conscientizing the African, on the question of attempting to reach that irritated genie that is buried deep within each and every one of us. If I could just even take that task and begin to implement it, we might be getting somewhere. Because the day we wake up and just push the master's table over, it's finished.
Yeah.
The game is done.
Yeah.
Game is done. So I'm saying, so for me now, standing in front and speaking, I'm working. I'm not having a chat or a discussion. I'm at work. I'm at work. I'm not socializing. It's not a social occasion. I don't come to socialize. I'm not having a chat or just a discussion and some tea. I'm busy at work.
Right.
Because knowledge and information, it must be that we use it like a butcher's knife. We're sharpening our knives.
That's right.
And why would a butcher have a knife if he isn't going to use it?
That's right.
It must be a weapon
Yes, right.
for struggle, for freedom, for liberation. And I'm saying that, that same thing applies to us. That whatever we do, whatever our skills or our profession, is, whatever it is, and it's different things. Some people are in front, some are behind, some you don't know, whatever. It must be a weapon for our freedom.
Word sound.
That's the point that's being made.
Word sound.
So, in terms of going forward, we have to start to attempt mass reconscientization of our people.
That's right.
Mass reconscientization. If we've woken up, if we say we are awake, you better make sure you wake 10 more people up.
That's right.
Unless you will die.
That's it.
Right.
Nobody is escaping alone. You can think you're as clever as wherever, you're wasting your time. We'll either sink or we will swim together.
That's right.
So it's in our own interest to wake as many people as possible up. And in waking people up, we then begin to organize.
That's right.
To organize. So when we talk about organization, it's not some flimsy thing we're just saying and just, they're just trying to recruit you. It's a do or die affair. And so if we like, you can wait till the 11th hour. At a point in time, when things become critical, let's say we've been saying that everybody on this street, coming to number 282, we're going to board the door, there's something coming down the road and we need to get in here, to hide because there's a bunker under this place. So I'm taking my time. I don't believe it. If we know that by 12 midnight they'll strike, and we've been telling you 6 days ago, 5 days ago, let me tell you something. You turn up here at 11 p.m. I won't let you in. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
After a while, it will become too late. That after a while, we will then need to see you as the enemy. Because if you're not part of the solution, you must be part of the problem.
That's right.
Because in wanting us to open the door at 11 p.m., you are opening us up to the enemy rushing in. So, I'm just using these simple analogies for us to understand that everybody has a stake, a responsibility, and a duty in this struggle. So I'm saying that, I thought, I think that the question of, conscientization is a key part of the work, but that must be taken to the next level. I was listening to, a discussion about Black history, and we say all the time, they don't teach African history in the schools, and this, and we cry about that all the time. But do you know why they don't teach African history in the schools? And they don't even teach African history in the schools on the continent. Do you know why?
Yeah.
They can't afford to do it.
Exactly.
Come on.
They can't.
Come on.
Because if they did it, there'd be revolution tomorrow.
That's right.
Word.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes.
So you must understand
Yeah.
the limitations of the enemy.
Yeah.
Therefore, if that is a limitation for him,
That's right.
that's an opportunity for us.
Yeah.
They don't don't not teach it because they don't want to, and they don't want to educate you like a lot of us think. No. They can't afford to tell you who they really are. They can't afford to tell you what they really did.
Yes.
Can't afford to tell you what they're still doing.
Right.
So that's our work.
That's right.
To teach her from day one. So she grows up, with this in her mind. I was watching something just yesterday on YouTube, and one white man called into a program. This is America, and this is our land. And the Native American woman to that. It's not America. It is Polynesia. I had never heard that being said like that before. And she taught her history in about 2 minutes. So this is not America. This is Polynesia. So you go back to where you came from. She quickly, dropped the phone. Imagine if everybody had that kind of confidence and knowledge instead of being defensive. To include us in America. I said, no, this is not America. You go back to Europe. So black history is important, but sometimes also some of us get caught up in Egypt. And we go back into Egypt and we just want to stay there because the pyramids are they're warm and they're comfortable. And they're massive. They can accommodate all of us. So we want to stay there. There's a war being fought today. Use the knowledge of Egypt as part of our armory. But don't go and hide inside the pyramid. Thinking that if you stay there for 3,000 years, by the time you come out, the war would have finished. Imperialism will still be waiting for you. Because some of us are like that. Yeah, black history, black history. I was in a meeting the other day, somebody were talking about spirituality. Say, we use spirituality as a weapon. I said, that's true. So I said, help me out. Say, we chant them down. I said, are you serious? And he was serious. He said, we do that all the time. I don't want to name the order. We chant them down. I feel so tired when I hear things like this. So I explain that spirituality is not a crutch. In Haiti, they use it as a means of mobilization, of revving up the spirit of our people to move into battle. Even if you read their Bible, every time before a war, they bring out the Ark of the Covenant. They use it as a prelude to war. They want to use it and chant. We're jokers, 2016. You want to chant down imperialism. So you see that we live in a world of illusions. There's a fight going on here. Somebody was also challenging us, do you believe in African traditional religion? I'm talking of something, it's question whether I believe in African traditional religion. So I said, what's the point? He said, because you can use it to, I get so tired. But let me leave that. What does black power look like? That's a deep question. When there's black power, Africa is able to rule herself. That's the most important thing. The question of sovereignty over our own homeland. One of the definitions of power is the ability to define reality. That's one of the most basic definitions of power. Right now, imperialism has power. If they decide that by next week Tuesday there'll be, a nuclear bomb or whatever, that's exactly what will happen. If they decide that next month, we won't call it December anymore, we'll call it December, that's exactly what will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
They have the power to define reality. If they decide that the train stations, you go to the train station and in order to get through, you hit your head 3 times on the barrier. You're laughing, it's true. That's exactly what will happen. That is power. The ability to determine reality.
That's right.
So, The day that we have power, because black people think we're fighting against Eurocentrism, fighting against racism, that, white people must respect us. I don't give a damn about respect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm concerned with power. Not with respect, not with love, not with acceptance. They must accept me. Who gives a damn? I want power. Power, not fame.
Yeah. Power.
Power. So in terms of, Africa now, if we have control over our resources, if you have control over the tap in your yard, you can turn it on and you can turn it off. But now the tap of our resources is on, full flowing with a pipe that leads directly to the west. The day you are able to turn that tap off and keep it off, even for yourself, because the resources haven't been used, you haven't known the resources anyway, you won't be missing them. Close the tap. Within 2 days, you will see blood flowing like rivers on the streets all over the West. Days. If you turn those taps off, that would be power. Because not just about turning them off, you have to be able to guard them.
That's right.
To keep them turned off. And wait and see what happens. Then you see all these black people that say they're not Africans. You won't know. They won't even know that they have witchcraft power to run to Africa within a minute. I'm saying to literally just disappear from here and appear home. That's what power looks like. That's what power would look like. And see the Chinese, they have power. If you mess with a Chinese person anywhere in the world, you know that you're not dealing with Chongqing. You're dealing with China. China. And the population of China is about 1 billion.
More than that.
And yet, more than, yes. Yes. And still they've kept themselves as one country. Why? They understand power.
That's right.
That when you face the Chinese, you face one China.
One China.
And that's why they fought. They had a civil war.
That's right.
They locked the whole country down and fought to the death.
Yeah.
And it was those who survived, and they opened the country and said, we are China.
Chinese. Yeah, that's right. Word.
That's what power looks like.
Word.
But look at us. 54 countries. 54 beggars.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it.
I'm very proud of it. Some of us, like in Nigeria, we big and bad. Our own begging bowl is a gold one. The others who don't have so much money, they have brass begging bowls, silver begging bowls. Don't bother with them.
Calabash.
Yes, some of them even have calabash. Our begging bowl is big, it's gold, it's shining. And we're very proud. India summons Africa. India summons Africa. And we go. China summons Africa. Obama summons Africa. Every Russian, everybody, and we go. In fact, the one that they went to India sometime late last year, it got so bad that apart from them all assembling the heads of state, the Indians made them wear Indian clothes. Haven't you seen it on Facebook? Someone said, I can send it to you. And they came out. Oh, black people. Oh, we are pathetic. Pathetic people. Because they're going to beg. All the resources that we have them, but you go and beg. So who was the artist? Says, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty.
Batman, sorry.
In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty.
Rat race. That's the one.
That's us. In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty.
Yeah, word.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, And the other thing that we've got to realize that Africa is our homeland. We've actually got to understand that here. Because sometimes I hear some people diaspora say things like, oh, and you see that a lot on social media. Those continentals, they don't like us. Or they say we're not Africans. Imagine you or any of the sisters, somebody comes to you and says, you're not a woman. How would you respond to them? Tell me, think about it. So you're not a woman.
They say you're crazy.
Absolutely. They'd either have to be crazy on medication or something, or being bipolar, or both. But then somebody comes up to you and tells you you're not an African, and you become offended. You must be crazy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You need to understand that. And so there must be that deep understanding, because even people on the continent do not know our history.
That's right.
They've kept the history away from us same way it's been kept away from Africans in the diaspora. So don't think people on the continent know all this history, and no, the enemy is the same.
That's right. That's right. Word sound.
We're talking about some of the things that have happened. You said to give some more specifics. You see, the thing about Libya was had the highest quality of life on the continent, and amenities, social services, quality of life, living, because the oil was used for them. It wasn't like how in Nigeria, the benefits of the oil are used, for other societies. And Gaddafi obviously had a lot of plans, was going to change the currency. Same thing, Saddam wanted to do. That the world currency is in US dollars. That's what props up their economy as the foremost economy. So Saddam was going to change, he had just done it, to change their reserves from dollars into euros.
Yeah.
Gaddafi was also going to do the same thing, but wanted to make it into the gold dinar, that this would be the currency of the global economy. They don't mess. You touch their profits, you're going. And that's exactly what happened. Because it was going to cut out, the monopoly of the dollar. And they don't play. And also, this question of African unity, any leader that pushes that position beyond rhetorics, they're coming. Because that's the one thing. If we achieve African unity, the game is over. Yeah. And that's why for us as political activists, the first work is to achieve African unity amongst the people. Because a lot of times when we talk of African unity, it's still on the state level, on the question of governments and countries. Right. Our continent is ruled by neo-colonial criminals, the vast majority of them. And so that kind of unity will not come from the top. We've been talking about it. They will not do it. Because they need to have, their own private spaces where they're able to exploit, the individual economies. So that unity will have to come from below. That's right. When we get to a position where the people are saying, we will unite, we're already united, not we will unite. I'm saying that's the level we need to get to. And that can only be done, people-to-people networks. That then makes the government policies irrelevant because we're already forming these bonds. But for us to do that, even we ourselves must understand deep in our psyche, not just something we say and we don't feel, to understand that we are African. And to study about the other side, because people just sometimes concentrate on their own side. You must learn about sisters and brothers on the other side of the Atlantic. There's your twins all over. You meet somebody who looks so much like you'll be spooked. Literally, you will be spooked.
Yeah.
So I'm saying these are some of the things that are our personal responsibility. So anyway, that's what Gaddafi tried to do. Somalia was a victory for us, because a lot of times we don't recognize our victories in struggle.
That's right.
When the Somalis, took down the Americans, that Black Hawk, incident, they whooped them, like they'll say in America, they whooped them bad. But look at Somalia, a small country. They've already destabilized it, and yet they were able to organize themselves, to chase the Americans out of their country. If Somalia can do that, what about the rest of us? Yeah? Africom. is, people might know it's a military, command. These are things, these questions, this is something that is a whole meeting all of its own. Because to even study the history, the origin, the politics of it, they've infiltrated the whole continent now because of these weak leaders, that we have. And so, if like there's an uprising today, say in, I don't know, choose any country, say Ghana, the American jets they don't need to fly in jets from the US. They are waiting, either in a neighboring country or even right there. They will put down the rebellion immediately because they're already on our soil. And our new colonial leaders they're so weak and such criminals that, they're just so short-sighted. They see the little benefits they give them without seeing that, you're compromising generations to come.
Right, that's right.
But you see, you can only have, at the end of the day, and this is a painful thing to say, people deserve the kind of governments they get. Because people who do not wake up and who are not able to speak up, and on the continent, it's usually because of religion, ethnicism, these things divide us and don't allow us to speak, then that's why we continue to have the kind of leadership, that we have. Same thing with, Africans in the diaspora here. If like in America, the best you can do in leadership is Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, that's an indictment on the people. As for here in the UK, I don't even know who you have. I don't even want to call some names because they're probably my friends. But I'm saying it's an indictment because some of us just point fingers. So and so is bad. He's a sellout. He's a sellout because you're not even, around. You're still at home in the central heating. You haven't even come out. Say somebody's a sellout. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you don't occupy stuff, Mr. Sellout will. Haiti. It is too long, to even start to go into Haiti. But the Clintons, use that as their business, angle and their little empire. And of course we know the history of Haiti and their glorious history, but the Clintons are just such criminals. That's a whole thing in themselves, of their business dealings, in Haiti, which caused, somebody even said something, they made an analysis which is really interesting. That if an earthquake hits any other country, even Cuba, because they are more organized, they're able to prepare better for it. But the impact of colonialism on Haiti, and colonialism in the sense that it's still continuing, makes it such a situation that any earthquake or any natural disaster has a genocidal impact on places like Haiti. What we're trying to say is that kind of earthquake in Haiti is a colonial earthquake, in the sense that it is due to the disorganization, the state of disorganization of the society that makes it incapable of organizing itself to prepare, for nature. So then the question is, who are the forces of this colonialism? And the Clintons are, a key aspect, of that. But, it's important that we start to give narratives and analysis from an African, centered point of view, to begin to see the world from our African eyes, not from CNN or BBC, and that we have the capacity to, lay out that narrative. For example, on the continent, when we're speaking, we'll say things like, and we just say it naturally, our colonial masters. We refer to these criminals as our colonial masters. And, I'm saying, no. Because that's two things. Here, every African believes that, yes, they are masters, or they were, even if you say were, they were our masters. I say, no, they're not our colonial masters. They were criminals who colonized us. Because that's the truth. Criminals who colonized us. So you can imagine if our narrative is that, by the time that all she's hearing is criminals who colonized us, by the time she's a teenager or something, if somebody says somebody's a colonial master, she'll say, who? You mean the criminals who colonized us?
Right.
So she begins to see them for what they are. Criminals, not masters.
Word.
It's so important.
Yes.
Or even the issue of slavery. We say, like I hear people in America, we were slaves. or they captured this. They used us as we're slaves and a slave. I said no, there were no slaves.
That's right.
They captured free people and then enslaved them.
Yes.
Now, when you use the word enslaved, the first question that comes to somebody's mind is, who enslaved you?
Yeah.
Who enslaved you?
Yeah.
So you begin to then say, okay, these are the criminals. Because if you say somebody's a slave, if you're a slave, then you're just a slave. Do you see? There's nothing, you cannot be redeemed. But if you were enslaved, it means somebody did something to you. So language is important, the narrative is important, and that understanding inside of ourselves. The Chinese, they're coming very nicely, just like in Avatar, offering a lot of money, which Africans with their typical short-sightedness accepting because we think there's quick money.
Can build road.
But yes, build lots of things. By the time, she's an adult, her life is mortgaged already. But these things are happening because there's a political vacuum. And it's not enough for us to listen to this kind of discussions. We've got to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So that remains our eternal challenge. An eternal responsibility. Even, whatever we're artists, whatever, we've got to be artists like Fela, like Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Every single record of Fela is raising an agitation. It's discussing struggle, it's discussing our lives. So it's music, you're entertained, but you're also empowered.
That's right.
And Fela's music empowers us, and it scares to death the oppressors.
That's right.
In Nigeria, the government hates Fela's music playing because it's always condemning them and indicting them, but empowering us. So we need to reproduce artists that empower us. So I'm saying that if as an artist, if that's your skill as an artist, make sure you are a liberation artist.
That's right.
Don't be a foolishness artist. Because we've got 90% of that now. Clowns. Artistic clowns. Or clowning artists. Whichever one. So, I don't know if I've answered, everything. But, it's a lot of work. But, like they say, the journey of 1,000 miles
Begins with the first step.
So the question, when we're living here today is, what will be my own first step? If it's a first step, it might not necessarily be. And if it isn't, build on whatever it is you're doing or you're involved in. But for you not to be involved anyway in our liberation, you're very much part of the problem. And we cannot afford that. So, and when you're pushing a stone, you might not push it to the final destination, but because you've pushed it from A to B, somebody else comes and pushes it from B to C. Somebody comes C to D. But if you never pushed it from A, the struggle is that much harder. Good evening.
Tendamwade, thank you for watching this video. We do hope you found it edifying and purposeful. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us at our website, alkebulan.org. Tendamwade.